Guess what? 3 of them actually have direct or indirect IPO. I will let them tell you, okay? And it's very rare to have such a great panel, to be honest. All right, so let's do this. Because we're going to talk about some very important topics, so I need to start with a disclaimer. So all the opinions are mine, and it's not legal or financial advice. Okay? I just need to get this done. And same apply to author. Okay, so yeah, okay. And first of all, myself, I'm David Fang, CEO of AnChain AI. So we build AI agent to fight financial crime and streamline compliance, trusted by U.S. government, blockchains, and banks and payments. And next, I think Aashish. So tell us about your story, your short bio and IPO or not. Go ahead.
Hi there. It's very nice to meet all of you. I'm Aashish Naik. I'm Director of Engineering at Netspoke. It is a cybersecurity company. We just had our IPO last month.
Congrats.
Thank you. So at Netspoke, we are the leaders in the Gartner quadrant. We have a cybersecurity platform, and in every step we use AI, and we will talk more about it today. We process about 80 billion events in a day for almost majority of customers across the globe, several thousand customers, our time to detect is almost real time, under a minute. I'm very excited. Thank you, Victor, for inviting me.
Awesome. Thank you, Aashish. And again, congrats. And Mukul, please.
Hi guys, I'm Mukul Bafana, former CEO of Omuni. Our company was acquired a couple of years ago by another company called ShipRocket, which is just listed for going public. Prior to that, spent time building one of India's first B2C marketplaces in the digital commerce space. And so I've spent the better half of the last 15 years looking at digital platforms to connect buyers, sellers, and data, and effectively kind of build smarter workflows and logic to enable commerce. I've kind of switched gears now, looking into more of the AI side, and with the kind of paradigm shift that AI brings into workflows and logic, it's interesting to look at kind of the evolution of AI with that same lens, right? Which is like the SaaS and the commerce world, you have to go through the infra build, the modular architecture, you have to go through the workflow and automation piece, you have to go through the analytics-driven feedback loops, the UX, the adoption, the trust. And so similar lens as we now look into AI, and probably the arc will follow with physical AI too. So excited to kind of be part of that. And thanks, Victor, for having us.
Collin?
Hi, nice to meet everyone. My name is Collin Sellers. I lead solutions from ProvLabs. We actually rebranded 2 weeks ago. We're now called New Blockchain Technologies, new and new. But we primarily provide blockchain infrastructure for companies that are seeking to use blockchains as their primary use. So migration away from cloud architecture to blockchains. We are a sister company to Figure, which IPO'd a few weeks ago. They are. When you look at the market, when you look at private credit on blockchains in the world, Figure represents 75% of all private credit on all blockchains in the world. And so they dominate that market, and we actually buy private credit from them, use some creative structuring in terms of the jurisdiction of domicile, Cayman, Virgin Islands, Dubai, to be able to actually make these instruments that generate yield very, very flexible and usable in what they call DeFi or decentralized finance, crypto, to the layperson. So we provide software to large enterprises to be able to do this, and it's a huge sort of migratory effort to be able to slot blockchain into your workflows and how you manage all your data. But blockchains are better, faster, cheaper, and will always win the day. And so, actually, we're a client of AnChain. So Victor and I are close. We use their service to track, anti-terrorist financing and AML flows on chain. Right? Blockchains are not anonymous; they're pseudonymous. You can apply data and blockchain learning to pseudonymous data sets, and so We do, and happy to be here.
Yeah, cool.
Hey everyone. There we go, much better. Hey everyone, my name is Lior. I've been in cybersecurity for about 15 years, both as a hands-on researcher, building solutions. I started in the US as head of security research for a startup called Netspoke. We did cybersecurity automation on a workflow that connects all the different tools. So I got to integrate with a lot of different products, Netspoke and others, go work with large Fortune 100 customers and legal, retail, all the big names, and help them build up their cybersecurity automation. At some point, the company got acquired by Palo Alto Networks, which is also a large cybersecurity, one of the leaders worldwide. Spent a few years there, integrating the product, and then as part of the Chief Product Officer office doing innovation work. And recently started at Eve Security, which is a seed stage cybersecurity startup. Started this year, so we're not IPO yet. I know how quickly AI moves, but not that quick. We still have a lot to build, and as head of product there, I'm working on securing Agentic AI and monitoring what AI agents are up to, since we're all trying to adopt this technology and harness it and get the value out of it, but we also want to find out what these things are up to and how we actually have policy around them. So that's what we're working on, and yeah, very happy to be here and happy to be part of the conversation, kind of learn where AI is going.
Cool, amazing. So as you see, there's a lot of money on the table, a lot of money on the stage. So 3 IPOs here, and it's again a really rare opportunity to have all these 4 friends, great friends to come and join me on the panel. So I mean, and it's a natural question. The first topic is going to be AI investment, right? So let's talk about AI investment. So I think, and especially from all of us are from technical background, right? So and then you guys are probably seeing like CoreWeave, like it's like a data center company went IPO earlier this year, like $1.5 billion, and Fermits and all that. So what kind of investment trend are you guys seeing in the space, especially the AI? Physical or software, whatever. Yeah, I think who will go first? Yeah, Lior, go ahead.
I could start. So, I mean, where to start? Obviously, tons of private markets activity. A lot of the AI security companies have been, acquired by large vendors who are looking to get into the space. And we're seeing new companies funded like Eve. But really across the whole value chain, right? We're seeing from energy, data centers being built, anything in compute, connectivity. I'm also tracking some of the satellite connectivity, direct to device, that whole aspect of things as we're building this up. So honestly, there's activity across the board in that whole value chain. So anything that connects to that. One of the companies that I invested in also does thermal management for that whole revolution, as we can imagine. There's a lot of heat involved, and doing that efficiently is important. So yeah, we're pretty much seeing everything across the board, and public markets are going crazy recently. So, and of course, metals and minerals as well.
Awesome. Yeah, Aashish?
Yeah, I think we are seeing AI almost everywhere, right from user provisioning. If you take a look at a company, like from user provisioning to actual applications, a lot of the energy that was going in low quality tasks. I see a lot of investment going on over there. Like for example, in the cybersecurity, there is a security operations center. They get like thousands of alerts a day, and there is not enough manpower to take care of it. So many issues have been closed, like or not attended to. But AI is definitely making a lot of help in like attending to those alerts. So we are seeing a lot of investment in terms of automating things, which humans were not able to reach up until now.
Yeah, Nick?
As I look at kind of a macro view of AI investing, and you kind of separate out what would be early stage, right? So just the kind of numbers that have been floating around, we're looking at sort of 70 billion per quarter being invested in AI. It's kind of a 50% growth is what people are saying year over year on the early stage stuff, right? And that's, it's great because you have, 35 billion of that going towards US companies. So a good chunk of that early stage coming into US based companies. So that's kind of the early stage view, and it's across all the things that the panel spoke about. But what's interesting for me also is to look at more of the strategic investments, right? If you start looking at the larger kind of public capital and company capital, where is that going, right? And I think the theme still, Victor, ended up being the infra and AI, kind of AI infra and real estate side. You have an entire pool of investment that's happening around verticalization and consolidation. You're seeing a lot of kind of money going towards, okay, let me kind of start looking at the compute stack and what parts of it can I own. A lot of partnerships announced over the last couple of months when you look at this, right? So OpenAI has gone out and done a few investments with its partners. You're seeing NVIDIA invest in, players like Intel, Broadcom had this investment round. So a lot of verticalization / can I secure my supply chain in AI, right? And that's always been kind of a strategy in the physical world, which is how you start owning your supply chain upstream, downstream. You've kind of seen that also in the AI side. There's also geographic investment plays. Google just announced $15 billion for a data center for AI in Visakhapatnam yesterday, right? So you're seeing arbitrage in terms of location. Where are the next billion people using AI going to be? Where is the energy arbitrage happening in AI? So you're seeing a lot of money going towards that. And then you have the vertical bets, which are very cool, right? You're seeing money go into specific industry use cases that are starting to make sense. So in the physical AI world, for example, preemptive maintenance, right? It's a space that is an easy place where you can start looking at value, and we'll talk about this a bit more when it comes to the AI stack and software plus robotics plus physical sensors. How does it all come together to create real value? So I think those are the kind of key themes we start looking at the larger investment spaces.
Yeah, incredible. Collin?
Just one thing I'll kind of add in markets in finance. I think what I'm seeing primarily, right? OpenAI hit 100 million users in 5 days. That's staggering. That was when they first released back in 2021. So there was this running joke, like you tap AI and blockchain into your pitch deck and just tack a 0 on the valuation. It was like, let's go. And I think what we're seeing now is a lot more tangible, real cases with an emphasis on privacy, right? We still do have no idea what, like the destructive capacity that, AI is tools. Tools can be used for good and for bad. So for me in markets, to see a lot of emphasis on how to maintain users' data, what that looks like, how you provision access to third parties when and if that happens, that is kind of the trend that we're looking at.
Cool, amazing. So, since all of us are technologists, I think the next question naturally is going to be covering technology. And then also, like Professor Liu mentioned, I moved to Austin a couple of years ago because of David, so the organizer. So we used to be a neighbor in Palo Alto, but I'm heading out tomorrow for a conference tomorrow. So it's, and for those of you who are following the AI news, right, there was this city, it's called the San Francisco Consensus. How many of you heard about that? San Francisco Consensus? Raise your hand, please. Okay, maybe 10%. All right, that's great. So it's made popular by Eric Schmidt earlier this year. They're predicting the AGI, artificial general intelligence, will arrive. Guess what? 2030, in about 5 years. That's going to happen very soon, right? So, and I would like to ask the panelists here, so what exactly, what does it mean, and what kind of specific technology do you think is coming? Yeah, maybe start from me.
So this definition of AGI always confounds me. I think I'm sure if we ask all of us, we'll have different definitions also. For me, if I were, somebody smarter than me said this, and I like the definition better from my point of view, which is, AGI, however we define it from a model point of view. I think from an industry point of view for me, in terms of where real kind of users, real value, real ROI is to be created. I think definitionally I would call it applied genuine intelligence rather than kind of artificial general intelligence, right? Because the question that comes to my mind is by 2030, what industries do you see where you have real ROI being created by AI? And that's really the way I would look at it. And so, for example, when it comes to physical AI, will we have a humanoid, robot working in manufacturing? Is that possible by 2030? That's a question I'd love to ask, right? And I think if you look at that specific use case, for example, we're far from it, right? Today, we have great companies in our backyards, Atronic, we have Optimus being developed here with Cortex. You know, we are partially there in terms of the brain, right? We're building the models, we're building the sensors, the cameras, the perception. But what we forget is a humanoid robot by 2030, that's really applied genuine intelligence coming into a factory floor. You have 40 plus actuators in an Optimus robot, right? You have a battery tech whose value chain we still don't fully control. Although, you know, we have Professor Goodenough here who got a Nobel Prize for battery tech, and I know we're working on companies like Groupon in Austin that's looking at you know, a different part of the physical value chain of batteries, which is potassium ion batteries, right? Which have benefits over lithium ion. So I think all that is happening, but by 2030, for us to really have AGI on a factory floor, that's the question that I really kind of struggle with. Is it 5 years or is it 10 more years before we see that?
Well, that's fair. Aashish?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, no one can really predict the future. So it's very hard to say what will happen in 2030. But I can definitely say where the current technology is headed to. A lot of you know, AI investment is going in agentic AI right now. And then you know, where people are trying to focus more on is the grunt work that happens in the organizations, the complexity that is between, you know, cross-team collaboration. Sometimes, you know, anything that you want to get in a larger organization, you have to touch base with almost 3 or 4 different departments, and then they have their own priorities. I think Agentic AI is really helping in those areas. Things that, you know, like I just gave an example of a security operations center, that, you know, there are so many alerts that, you know, you cannot take a look at it. So that is where I think investment is going in, to identify that one thing that is, you know, is very important for a company where it can get hacked. You know, reaching to that answer, I think that's where a lot of investment is going in. The real barriers to the AGI, what I would say is, I mean, you know, when you play with the LLMs, you know, you get blown away by the response that it gives. But then, you know, again, you know, there is very less understanding of how the LLM is going to behave. Like the difference between a human and AI is, you know, we take that information, we synthesize that information, and then we make a decision. And then, you know, we learn that decision, whether it was right or wrong, and then remember it, so next time we don't do it. That's how, you know, we as a society, you know, teach our kids, and then we watch each other and learn from each other. So I think today what AI is capable, especially LLMs, are at summarizing a text. But then, you know, it makes certain decisions of what I'm gonna choose. That logic is not very clear, and then it's not very clear. It depends on, and release to release, the LLMs behave differently. They are not backwards compatible. And in corporate world, you know, you can't really depend on something like that as yet, because, you know, if suppose, you know, I have to do, say, suppose a solution where, you know, if this particular issue or this alert occurs, then go check these 10 things to tell me that this is a root cause, that this is a real hacker into your system, right? So as a human, you know, you take an action, then based on that you make a decision. Okay, I look at this log, so now I'm gonna go check something else. This decision making, the agents or even the LLMs are not able to make today. So I think I would say, will that be ready by 2030? I don't know. And then, you know, there are like RAG, and, you know, there are some tools where it tries to keep that information that you can reference later. But again, you know, still the decision making, what the LLMs are doing is debatable. So yeah, what is coming down the pipe immediately, I can say yes, data gathering. So instead of like going to 10 different places and getting the logs, metrics, and then trying to make an analysis, that takes on an average 20 minutes for a person to go do it, if they are not disturbed. But then, you know, with LLM agents, you can actually get that data in few minutes. So maybe there are some optimizations that are happening within the industry, but is it really smart enough to make that AGI happen, take those right decisions? We don't know. Then I think I have a few answers, but one more another thing I want to say, right? now, as humans also, the way I take a decision versus how Victor takes a decision changes, right? Because he has a different perspective, I have a different perspective. So even that element, which is the right decision, to be honest, right? There is no right decision. There are like gray areas. So how would LLM, how would we qualify that okay, this is AGI? Like the decision that the LLM took, it is right or wrong? Because it's very subjective.
No, I just want to build on that. AIs, LLMs are great for analyzing data. If I ask the room, I'm very curious, does anyone in here know how many meme coins are created every day in the crypto space? If you had to guess. 100? That's a great guess. Times 1,000, it's 100,000. So trying to pick a winner out of those is like trying to pick a needle out of a needle stack in a needle factory on Needle Factory Row. That's insane, right? So using an LLM for that, I find extremely valuable, right? Help me make better decisions. No one has the kind of time, no human being has the kind of time to be able to analyze that amount of data, right? And so as far as AGI goes, I have no idea. I don't know. It's fascinating to me, right? But what's right in front of me is more where my head goes and how I can use those tools, to sort of better my decision making when it comes to finance, personal finance. I think that it's important we maintain that we are using LLMs and AIs to help us do things, not outsourcing the action of those things to the AI until you are sufficiently confident that it is secure. Agentic AI, I think it's fascinating. It's also there's a lot of security privacy concerns for me up there. So
So fascinating stuff. I think at the enterprise level or organization level, there's certainly lots of bottlenecks we can remove in terms of decision making and analysis. And I've had some experience doing that before LLMs with the Misto doing workflows and coming in and looking at processes and figuring out where to actually enhance them. And analysis was always the first thing, gathering everything from all the different systems was always the first thing, and making the decision was always the hardest part. And then once you take a decision, it's very easy to actuate a bunch of systems with law or whatever it is, right? As far as AGI, first of all, we need to remove some of the bottlenecks security-wise to enable organizations to really adopt, AI innovation and agents and be able to monitor what they're up to. So that's one thing, because I've spoken to lots of organizations who are intent to adopt some of these things, but they're really putting the brakes on because they don't have a good enough security solution, right? So that's the first thing we want to remove. On an AGI level, it's very hard to predict, obviously, what's going to happen over the next 5-10 years. We can definitely say that we're at an inflection point, so it's not going to be linear. I can certainly see certain macro level feedback loops and processes that can accelerate it. As far as AI being used to enhance certain industries, like we just saw at the professor talk, and then in turn those industries supporting further advances in AI and so on and so forth. So the question is, how fast can we accelerate that loop? What's really blocking that? Collaboration and communication, and as we progress, certain different areas become the new bottleneck. So how much we can predict, get in front of that, and sort of iterate faster on a macro level. And then obviously energy as well, right?
Cool.
Driving all.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so and then the next natural topic would be the hottest AI technology we're being followed. It's called Agentic AI. I think all of them already talk about it. So this is a concept that just really came out very recently, within a year, right? So and made popular by Satya, and we have a separate event earlier this year. We'll talk about that when that concept just came out. And a couple of days ago, if you guys are following AI news, like OpenAI just announced Agent Kit, right? And now, that's a lot of development. And then for us, with AnChain AI, we're laser focusing on any money laundering workflow. So we already seeing like 10x of productivity gain. So it's remarkable that when we use the previous investigation we did for the US government and then put it into our Agentic AI workflow, we used to take 2 full time for 1 month, and now we can finish that by the use of 1 million tokens the AI tokens, right? LLM tokens, and that's literally like $2-3 and like 5-10 minutes. That's it. Just think about it. It's actually 1,000x improvement, right? So, and the quality is pretty good. It's actually on par with our previous investigations and all that. So definitely this is a game changer, right? So with that, I think, and it's really great to have Lior here. He's, for those of you who know in the cyber, I know some of you in the cyber, his last company, Dimesto, right, was actually, I would say, the de facto workflow company for cybersecurity. So I would like to, start with you on the Agentic AI workflow.
Sure. So, Damasco was founded about a decade ago, and part of the concept we set out to do was chat ops, right? So, alongside your workflow, if I come in and ask, so how do you underwrite a loan, or how do you, filter or qualify an investment, or how do you investigate a security alert? You probably have a process. Now, it's not necessarily written down, but you have one. It might be in your head, and if you have 5 different analysts do it, they might do it differently, right? We just talked about subjective. So how do we codify that process, gather what's already there, make sure everybody's playing to the same sheet music? But also, how do we have like a bot that kind of joins the investigation? You can chat with it and ask it to be like your teammate. And it was very much ahead in terms of the vision, but we didn't have LLMs. So now it's much easier to actually deliver on that and accomplish that goal. What we did was mostly workflow-based automation. So we would really marry sort of the tool set and the data sources that you have as an organization. So you have a bunch of security tools, data sources, HR systems, if you want to know who's logging in, which building are they working out of, and which department are they in, right? So there's IT organization information goes into that. And then your industry specifically, right? If you're in retail, you might be concerned with protecting gift cards, right? Or you might have certain industry events like Super Bowl or whether it's Black Friday, right? Different industries have different concerns. But it really revolved around workflows that were predetermined. Now with the agentic systems, it's not predetermined, right? It's non-deterministic. They can go ahead and make decisions. But often those decisions are higher quality than what an analyst would do, and are faster as well. So it comes down to, how much autonomy is too much autonomy? Like how much autonomy do we really want to give these agents? What are the smart architectures we can have in terms of pre-planning the workflow, approving it and running it, or really determining everything at runtime? So really the mental model of how we're going to be building agentic systems going forward, and relying on all the experience we've had in the past iteration to sort of know where the issues are and what the better solutions are. And yeah, it's going to be a fascinating few years. Cybersecurity is a good kind of testing pad for a lot of ideas that can then transfer to other industries as well.
And Nick, on the workflow side?
Yeah, in my past life with Omni, one of the things we were looking at in retail is, how do you start connecting inventory, order management, and this is localized inventory, stuff in store, right? How do you make sense of it? And in the old world, before, sexy terms like agentic AI, the words we were using were things like, descriptive analytics and, predictive analytics and kind of prescriptive analytics. And the intent was, you collect a lot of data across the entire retail, online, offline world, consumer data, transaction data, inventory data. How do you start, what do you do with all this data, right? How do you make sense of it first? How do you describe it? How do you predict, things like pricing algorithms, recommendation engines, right? How do you put the right inventory in front of a customer in the right place? And then how do you start making autonomous decisions in the end goal, right? How do you start ensuring that that piece of inventory, if you decide where it exists in the offline store network, where should it go, right? If you have only one piece, where should it go next? And so this was the kind of stuff we worked on. What we realize now is that was a journey for us. For us to get to a point where we're able to allocate that next piece of inventory into a physical store, online distribution center, required us to build a layer cake, right? In today's world, I think we're fast forwarding a bit into the agentic workflow discussion, but what we fail to see is a lot of us come from native AI-ready architectures. But in the world out there, we're starting from data sanctity. When we had to do this for the first time for a digital offline retailer who was doing digital for the first time, we had to figure out if you had even real-time data of where your inventory existed, right? And so I think that this entire agentic AI journey, the reason I come back to this is, it is a layer cake. For a lot of the world, including the physical AI world, which is now one more layer on that kind of architecture, you have to start with data sanctity, right? Do you have data hygiene? Can you even access your data? Then you have the entire layer of data engineering, things like a feature store, right? Do you have ways to actually use hundreds of models on top of that existing data mesh, right? Can you actually support multiple models making decisions for various agents, right? Then you probably have the agentic architecture, you have a UX layer, and you have a physical layer. So the question is, where do you start if you're an organization? Do you have the base layers done? And then are you ready for the agentic part of it and everything else that comes with it in terms of the journeys and logic? So I think that's the part that I think a lot about in different industries is, are we kind of jumping ahead in the architecture before we get the base model layer kit done?
And by the way, to add on that, like 95% of the AI or agentic AI project pilots fail, right? That's the most recent MIT report, which is surprising, but that's definitely the point. So yeah, Aashish, keep short.
I can say definitely agentic AI is currently very hot and it is producing results. Internally within our company, we have implemented agentic bots, which actually, and as I said, right, they are not able to make sound decisions, but they're able to collect the data. So we have seen almost like up to 40% of productivity gains just because analysts have to go at multiple different places, get all the data together, and then make sense out of it. So that data gathering is taking a lot of time. But in here, the agents are actually getting the data, and in some cases, we are even leveraging it using LLMs to say, okay, instead of me reading this whole page of details, can you just summarize this for me? And then if an analyst finds some tidbit that, oh, this may be related to the problem, then they have a link to go to the actual thing. So the data collection is actually helping a lot in saving time. There is productivity, and you are right that almost like 95% of the projects are failing because I think people are just rushing into it without having proper use cases. So I think where AI would really help is don't just jump into AI because it is cool or it is going to be automatically become AGI or something. Take it step by step. Like first, what is the business problem? What is hurting you the most? Take that, and then see, is agentic AI going to be helpful, and if so, where? And then you'll see success. So I think in the last 2 years we have built at least 3 AI products in the company, and all 3 are producing value.
That's great. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I want you to answer this question. You're the most qualified person on this panel to answer this. So
No way. I don't know, I would definitely, but here, no, I need to be on board. So anyways, we do see, we work together on that, right? So great customer, great partners, and definitely we're seeing that we streamline a lot of those, I would say, tedious process, right? Which is actually great for all of us. Who here want to work repetitive? Work? Nobody. Maybe some. No, probably not. So all right. So I think the next question will be the fun one. Okay. Okay. First of all, I'll do a little poll here. How many of you think about the AI thing? We are in the AI bubble right now. Raise your hand, please. Raise your hand. Yeah. Don't be shy. Okay. So 30%. Okay. Whoa, Srini, you raise your hand? Okay. We have a workshop together. Okay, so, for those of you following the news, right, you guys saw NVIDIA and OpenAI, there's this deal investing. How it works is NVIDIA is going to invest $100 billion into OpenAI, and OpenAI will spend money on the GPU. Again, no investment advice, no legal advice, anything, and I'm a computer science PhD, not accountant or CPA, okay? Everything I say could be wrong, okay? So don't quote me on that. But to me, it's a basic common sense. Is it a circular financing? Again, I don't know. So that's interesting. I would say that's smart. And the question I want to ask the panelists is are we at the beginning or in the middle of the similar to dot-com the bubble? So.
That's kind of what I think. For a while there, a good buddy of mine, he spun up a tool, and it was, and he trained it on a bunch of high school textbooks so that he could sell the service to high schoolers for their homework. And it was like a $6.99 one-time thing on the App Store and whatever. And he made the economics work, and that was great. You could never get that off. That was in 2021. You couldn't get that off the. Oh, it was 2022. You couldn't get that off the ground today. There's so much competition that we're seeing now, across all the different models and just the feature sets. So I think what we're seeing is a flight to quality, and like if there's real problems being solved, then then absolutely. But there's a lot.
So it is a bubble.
I think, just like in the dot-com era, I think people were like unsure about how the internet might disrupt, and then once it sort of became very clear, it was, I think it made more sense.
So there's a long yes.
I think, yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'll speak the opposite view on that. I mean, well, let's put it this way. If I would rationalize what's going on, one way of looking at it could also be that this is classic vertical integration strategies going on in the industry, right? So one of the things, I don't know if you guys noticed this is the part that makes you think this way, is all of a sudden we're describing AI. A year ago we were looking at models in terms of parameters, right? We were looking at flops, right? This is a very tech-driven world in terms of how we're describing AI. And now the entire baseline talk has become gigawatts of AI. You guys notice that shift? And that's a very cool shift, right? And that's almost a signal of kind of this rationalization of what's happening in AI, right? Because the world's realizing that it doesn't matter how fast your chips are and how, what your flops are for any given chip, you're constrained by energy, right? And if you start looking at that world that way, you start seeing that a lot of the moves we're seeing with investments are this move to kind of consolidate, standardize, deliver the kind of infra, modular setups you need to actually make AI usable, right? And now what that means, we're downstream, upstream partners, and we kind of co-build together, or you invest in me, I turn back and invest in you, or we lock up capacity, right? Including energy, right? This is the kind of manifestation of kind of a rationalization, consolidation phase that's happening, which is good for the industry.
So it's yes or no?
So no, I would say this
No,
is
okay, that's good.
we're rationalizing.
Okay, and Aashish, is that bubble or no? Let's keep it short, we don't run out of time.
Okay, I'll say,
Well,
if
yes or no?
if I could predict, I would like bet in the stock market and make more money.
So you don't know?
Yeah, I would say it's hard to predict.
Alright, close it. Yeah.
It depends how you define a bubble.
Sorry, there's nothing in the middle.
There may be some assets that are overvalued. It doesn't mean that there isn't the productivity gains to have. As far as where we are, it's very hard to know if you're in the second inning or the fourth inning, right? There may be ways to go, and it's very hard to know. But yeah, I second the point about energy, right? Like energy can't be printed, right? Energy.
So it's not.
At some point, it's bounded by energy.
Okay, cool. All right, I think that concludes the panel. Cool. Thank you, everyone. And then we'll be here.